Hey everybody, Jess Intuitive Angel Healer here with your Grounded. Thank you so much for joining us for our final presentation in the 2021 Love and Light Women's Empowerment Conference that I have created this last week of March. And the reason for that is some people aren't aware. You are probably now if you've watched this series, but some people aren't aware that March is actually not just the start of spring, but it was actually put into Congress as part of International Women's Day, International Women's Month. It's just like they made it a thing where, hey, we finally got acknowledged. It took 1800 to like 1900, like 1914 was when they enacted we could have rights to vote. And I know that they started this in like the 1800s. So I just think it's awesome where we've progressed and came. And my lovely special guest today, Cheryl Meyer from good old California. She was my very first podcast guest to kick off my Toxic Shadows podcast. And she's near and dear to my heart. She has written the book, It Feels Good to Feel Good. And she's just an all-around awesome lady who's got multiple awards. I just love her stuff. And no matter how many awards she gets or how many bestsellers, she's still humble and just awesome. And she definitely defines what empowerment is, just like all the other ladies that have joined us. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Cheryl. Give us a little bit about your journey, who you are, and a little bit about your presentation today.
Well, I am a health coach now. I used to be an entrepreneur. I had my own jewelry business until I woke up one morning sick as the dickens. Every joint and every bone in my body hurt. I was not doing self-care. I was not paying attention to myself. I was working 24/7 for my jewelry business. And so since then, I had a doctor who had no clue what was wrong with me. So I researched and eliminated hundreds of toxins from my life. And by doing that, I still have autoimmune disease, but it ends up I have eliminated my pain, which is huge. And toxins enter our lives from food, from cleaning, from our water, from all different areas, from the air. But today I want to talk about toxic society and how two women, I was a lit major in college, how two women's books opened up my eyes to things that I was completely unaware of and changed the way I viewed my world forever. And so these women empowered me to have a deeper connection to my fellow man. And the first one is To Kill a Mockingbird, which is an amazing novel by Harper Lee. I pulled a quote by Harper Lee that I wanted to read to you, that as you grow older, you'll see white men cheat black men every day of your life. But let me tell you something, and you don't forget it. Whenever a white man does that to a black man, no matter who he is, how rich he is, or how fine a family he comes from, that white man is trash. Now, I think that quote particularly means something today because of what we're doing with black men and women and brown men and women and our voting rights. They have every much right to vote as we do. When I read this book, I was in high school, and it opened up my eyes that not everybody was the same as the way I had been brought up as a privileged white woman, as a privileged white girl. And so this book was one of the first times that I had to stop and think about the fact that I was privileged and that everyone else around me was not. And it changed the way I view race relations in this country. And understand, I'm 71. So when I read this book was when Martin Luther King was just starting to fight for rights for Blacks. So we've come a long way, baby, but we seem to be going backwards here. Everyone is equal. And this book makes it clear. No one understood why this attorney took on this case And yet she writes from the South as a white woman with such truth that it really changed the way I viewed my world and the work that had to be done and why Martin Luther King was doing the work that he was doing. So that's the first woman who empowered me to see the world through different eyes. The second book is very similar, and that is Gentleman's Agreement, which is another woman named Laura Hobson. And if you haven't read the book, you can at least go back and watch the movie, which is from 1949. It again is Gregory Peck. He's in both movies. And it happened right after World War II. And it's about a man who's given a new job to be a writer for a magazine in New York. And he decides that he's going to pretend that he is Jewish because no one knows he's Jewish. And so he thinks he will get the full experience if he actually writes the article with no one knowing that he is not Jewish. And I grew up in a family who believed that you judged people for who they were, not what they were. So that part was instilled in me to my soul. But what I didn't realize is that my family was still a part of the problem because we had friends and we would go to their houses and they would say things that were ugly and were prejudiced. And my parents, being polite, would not comment on what was going on. And by reading this book, it hit me right in the middle of my eyes that we were a part of the problem. And that's really what this movie is about. He falls in love with a lovely woman, and her name is Kathy Lacey. And my quote from this book is, "You think I'm an anti-Semite." And he says, "No, but I've come to see lots of nice people who hate it, deplore it, and protest their own innocence, and then help it along and wonder why it grows." That was my family. People who would never beat up a Jew, people who think anti-Semitism is far away in some dark place with low-class morons. This is the biggest discovery I've made. The good people, the nice people, that was us. So I ended up entering an industry that was jewelry, which was largely Jewish. And some of those people became incredibly dear friends. And one of the most interesting things, my mother's mother died when she was 2. She never recovered from childbirth. And by doing the 23andMe test, I discovered that her mother was actually Jewish. I am 26% Jewish. And when I called friends that I used to stay with all the time in Providence to see one of the customers I saw there, I could hear Marvin from the background going, "I always knew she was Jewish." So, somebody said to me today, it's a shame that we don't all know our genealogy because we are all one. I had my genealogy done by National Geographic. My people started in Africa. They were Black. They made it through the Middle East, up and through Ukraine, and in through Eastern Europe. That's where they would have picked up the, I think I'm going to pronounce it right, Ashkenazi Jewish traits. And so we all have a little bit of everything in us. So why do we have to put one group down, and why do we have to be afraid of them? And so these women changed the way I saw my world. And that's why I wanted to talk about them. I have no idea why I'm so emotional, but it's something that we all need to think about.
I love your presentation, and I can totally agree with that. And there's some sentiments about, I always stay out of the race talk, because when people come to me, I tell them, I'm sorry. I have friends of all walks of life, and when it comes down to it, I don't even see color, because color doesn't exist. Like, I must be colorblind in the race thing, because I don't see color. I just see souls. And when I start noticing the not so good parts of our history, and I kind of look over them, I kind of notice that they match. And if you get down to the bottom of Jewish history, Black history, any kind of history, Italian history, there are the gruesome parts. And if you just go down, they all, gruesome is gruesome, negative is negative. It all ends up that at some point we let a negative thought and idea procreate into like what it is today. And that's why I tell people, let's take it back to basics. Because when I look at you, I don't see color. I just see another soul. And ugly is ugly. And if you're ugly, no amount of makeup's gonna make you pretty, because you're ugly to
Right.
the bone. And I could see that. I see it in your soul. So I really wish people would stop judging each other by the color of our skin, because we're all tied in as one equal. We're all have hearts, and our hearts beat with energy, and the energy comes from the source, the sun. So if people would just, get down to that basic thought. But I love those books that you brought, because that was when those books came out. That was a pretty the angels were on their side to put those books out, because those books could have either been the hit they are today, or people could have burned the whole collection and we could have never heard about it, because we've been taught just such savage ways. I feel like we're almost like cavemen, and we just go around and we get our clubs and we're like, I don't like that and I'm gonna beat you, because that's what they used to do. And I just found out, I was watching this thing on spirituality, right? And it was talking about that the angels, okay, whether you guys follow this or not, but this guy was doing a dissertation on how we've progressed. And they said that upstairs, when the caveman era was happening, that's why we've progressed, because something got put in the sun to become part of our DNA, so we could progress, so we would just stop sitting around and hitting each other with
With
clubs. So
clubs.
let's progress. And it's very, just let's get progressive and learn that we don't have to adopt. I always say this: you don't have to adopt all the things that your parents or that society has done before. You decide your own traditions. Just because they're a tradition, decide if it's your tradition. And if it's not, don't celebrate it, but don't hate on someone else because they want to celebrate it.
Well,
I
and
just don't understand the ignorance behind any of
neither do I. And until we walk in somebody else's shoes, we don't understand their experience the way that they see the world. But we need to open up our eyes and believe that everyone has value and everyone has something to contribute. I read a quote by Gregory Peck when I was looking for a quote on Gentleman's Agreement. People were saying to him, why did you decide to make this movie? This could hurt you. And he said, I'm at the pinnacle of my popularity. This is the perfect time for me to make a statement that we're all equal. It couldn't have come at a better time. And I just read that someplace they want to take Kill a Mockingbird off of school libraries. That book needs to be read.
Yeah, I think that's part of the thing called the cancel culture. And I just think, it's hard, but that one is, you have to understand the lessons in it. And I don't think it's for kids necessarily. I think you have to have, I think it needs to be taught, but it needs to be taught in to a certain level of, so people get the understanding. But I don't know. I don't think getting rid of any of our history, it's still our history. We have to learn from it. Just like I have to learn from my past, or I'm never going to get better. I'm just going to continue. And but I feel a lot of change. Patty Holmes might want to chime in on this conversation, because
History is our guide.
she wrote, we were just having this conversation this morning, and she's from Mexico, which is a whole different culture. And she had to come and learn how American culture was compared to Mexican culture. That's a whole nother country. So I would love to hear your thoughts, Patty.
Well, this is great. And hello, Sherry. Nice to
Hi,
meet you. I'm
Patty.
Patty Holmes. Hi. And I give my talk in the morning, so I come back and just with ideas. I hear you, what you say, and that is great. And yes, everybody is equal. I think um, that is a good statement. Everybody's quick equal. Yes, we are, but at the same time, we different too, because based on experience, like you were saying,
But that's what makes us brilliant all together.
Yes. So this is the month of the sorority, and I was talking about in a different way. It's the same thing, but it's a different thing in the same way. Maybe I sound so philosopher, but but it's true. Sorority. We have to accept everybody. Same thing that we was talking about the man. The fraternity, but in this case about we are different. The color, the hair. I was mentioning in the morning that when I came to live the United States, I not speak any English, zero, nothing. So and now I'm married with an American. He is from Pennsylvania and he's a white man. And I've been learning a lot. And I was mentioning earlier that I point in the American ladies, actually the white ladies in the United States, because I was thinking they're so liberal. What happened to these women? They tell the men what to do, do this and that. And because I'm coming from a culture in where woman is, like, yes, I cook for you, I do this. So it's a lot of difference. And I'm learning now. Now I'm just do that to my husband. No, I'm just kidding.
You learned well.
But I'm learning, I'm growing. I love to hear, like you were saying, and his story, or story is like in Mexico. A lot of people are really angry because the Spaniards come over here and they take our oil or gold and stuff. But we not been speaking English if that not happen. The what if they not exist. So they don't have a sense to put attention in what if. So what if not exist in my vocabulary? It is what it is, and our history, like Jess was saying, if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. So we need to value our history in any way, in any way. So, and it's funny because I'm not get offensive at all. You Mexican. Well, yeah, I am. I'm. I am. And so I was in an office and I was a leasing agent for a long, long time. And there was this gentleman there, and I was closing up a contract with somebody. And this lady told me, she said, "So you Mexican?" I said, "Yeah, I am Mexican." So, "Oh, okay, I hear your accent." I said, "I just want to make mistaking, like Puerto Rican or something." She said, she actually say that she was aware, all the accents in people speaking Spanish, you and other cultures they get mad because they standardize and it's you Mexican. No, you from Spain or you from Puerto Rico, you Honduran, you're Colombian. Not because I'm speaking Spanish, I'm just Mexican. So it's a lot of ignorance involved in that too. And there was other gentleman there, and we closed it, and she walked away and said, "Okay, I'll go over there, whatever." So the guy, he get offended for this lady was asking me all this question. He was so on fire. And he was like, "How dare she asking you if you were Mexican?" And I was like, "Well, I am." So,
You're like,
to
she's stating facts. I don't know what to tell you. I love you, Patty, because you're great, because people don't understand that not everybody gets offended to everything. And, when it comes down to it, we can all be pointed out and singled out for who we are, what we sound like. And I used to work for a very brilliant doctor who was from India, and he had an accent, and his patients, some of them would try to do undercover, like, "I just don't blah, blah, blah about that doctor." I'm like, "Look, okay, I love my doctor, and I'm sorry if you can't understand him. We will sit here all day until you get the facts straight, but please don't talk about that man. that man, I actually watched him in the process of saving somebody from botulism, which, by the way, he told me has happened like this many times in the world. And it's a crazy way to even if you get botulism, by the way, it's not a very fun process, and it takes like 24 hours that the doctor has to stay with you. But, just I've heard ignorant stuff like that before. I was sitting at a coffee shop and my boyfriend is Mexican, and I had a whole family, a dad, a son. I was just disgusted, and a daughter, and they were like 12 and 15 and 60, and I just heard him making all these comments, racist comments about Mexicans, and I was on good behavior that day because my boyfriend was the chef at this really fancy restaurant, and I was just hanging out waiting for him to finish off. But like I was like, okay, you can't act up in front of your boyfriend's restaurant. But I just wanted to say, God doesn't like ugly because why do you, and I see though how innocent people pass down because the ignorance, they don't understand when you're having that conversation with your kid. First of all, you're laying a shadow on them. And second of all, now you've just passed down your hatred opinion down to your kid, because kids don't know hate, period. My daughter does not know hate. When you were when she was 2 and 4, if you were her height, you were her friend. So she's living proof you don't have hate ingrained in you. We teach it to people, and let's stop forcing our opinions on our kids. That's the first place where it stops at, and let people decide what they want. And also, I've learned, if this is the biggest thing where it all comes out of, things that people don't understand creates fear. Fear makes you do some very odd things, because I've had some clients that I'm just like, wow, fear is definitely running your life, and we'll come back in a year or 6 months when you can handle this, because right now you can't. So I've learned to let people take the higher road almost with that, because at some point it'll come boomerang around and they'll experience that hate that they dished out to someone. And so I kind of let karma do its thing. For me, that's personally how I deal with the hatred. What are your thoughts, Cheryl?
Yeah, no, number one, I always think, as you were talking about the Oscar and Hammerstein lyric, that you have to be carefully taught. Kids do not grow up with hate. They have to be taught to hate.
Yes.
And so part of it, that's one reason books like To Kill a Mockingbird, I think, are important for children to read, because it'll open up their eyes that there is another way. And if we always come from the heart in our kindness, and if we teach our children to come from our heart in our kindness, our hearts are big enough to love everybody. And there's room for everybody. And we all have gifts to offer, every one of us. Yes. So, yeah, I don't understand it, but
I don't either. But I love your authors that you chose, and I love that you bring those classics back out, because my thing is, our history is not pretty, and I just say that kind of like your life. You know what? Growing up in your 20s, most of us are like, prove it happened, because if you didn't put it on there, you can't prove it. I don't care. So let's just, it's like you can heal from it if you can face it, because there are some things that I have been watching on TV. I've had to fast forward. I'm just like, what is wrong with this world? Like, I even think I watched the crucifixion of Jesus, and I was watching, briefly, it ran over like the Crucible or something. And I was just like, what headspace were those people in? Not just to put, whether or not, it's not a religious talk here, but to put someone, and it may or may not be your creator, but how much hate, like, that is where I feel our hate really got out of control. And that's where it's kind of, we're still feeding off of that Roman Greek time era where people were just so ignorant and hateful. They're like, I don't understand it, burn it, destroy it. And I've watched these and I'm just like, wow, I really am glad that we're progressively getting better as a society. But that's why I do this stuff, and I have the uncomfortable talks, because if we don't talk about it, it's just like what I tell my clients. If you don't bring awareness to it, you don't know you're doing it. Therefore, you're going to keep repeating it. So kind of like those people that I could have yelled at that family and made them feel foolish and probably made them really get scared to ever talk about someone that way, because I have acted up before and really embarrassed someone because I don't believe in undercover hatred. But instead, I chose to take the high road and let those people understand that at some point they're going to learn their lesson, and it's going to come back. You just got to let people, you got, it's the 4 agreements. You got to not take people personal. And I've learned the biggest thing I hold on to is you must have a really bad reality going on for you right now, because your thoughts are a reflection, your actions are a reflection of your environment, of your personality right now. Maybe not you as a person, but how you're acting and your energy. So maybe, you got to suffer through that storm. And I've learned I can't save everyone, because you know what? There was a meme I ran across one day and it said something about karma. And you know what? I'm not stepping in everybody's thing, because that is not my karmic lesson to learn. But if it is a karmic lesson, guess what? You won't be able to run away from it either. So
Yeah, we do get back what we put out. There is no doubt.
exactly. I love your presentation. What do you have going on for you, Miss Cheryl? I know you have a second book since I first talked to you.
Yeah, I have a book about how I don't eat the standard American diet because it made me sick. So I have a book out about how do I live this way? How do I go to restaurants? How do I go to other people's homes for dinner? It's all doable once you make the commitment that your body is your temple and you're going to take care of it. And so if anybody's trying to figure out how to do that, I have tips that will be amazing for you in terms of how to do it. And again, it comes down to having open conversations with people who you love. If I'm invited to someone's house for dinner, I don't want them making dinner or trying to make dinner around my 18 food sensitivities. So I'll call them and tell them how thrilled I am that we're coming for dinner, but that I'll bring my own food and I'll bring enough that everybody can eat. And I hope they won't be sensitive about that, because we're coming because we love them. We're not coming because of making them do extra work to make different food. So all of those kinds of tips are in there. How to save money on healthy food, how to go to farmers markets, how to travel domestically and abroad and stay true to your healthy diet. All of those tips are in my second book. The big thing I have going on right now is on March 31st, I am kicking off a sugar detox for the entire month of April. And I want people to eat healthy, but when they start to eat what I call the rainbow, which is where all your phytonutrients come from, they get bored. And one of the reasons they're getting bored is because they are addicted to sugar and chemicals from processed food. And until you break that addiction, you don't stand a chance to win. So you've got to break the addiction. And believe it or not, it only takes like 2 to 3 weeks to break the addiction. What's happening with all those chemicals, sugar and the chemicals that are in processed food, is they've turned off the 2 hormones in your brain that control your appetite. So your body doesn't know when it's full, so it keeps looking to eat more. And food companies are doing that on purpose because they want you hooked to buy more. And so you got to get away from that if you're going to win at eating healthy. So the first step is to ditch the sugar and the chemicals. And so we're going to kick it off. We have a private Facebook group. We're going to support each other. I hope we're all going to become good friends as we go through this. But when I did mine 4 years ago, I could not believe the amount of food freedom I had when it was over. Those foods no longer called my name. And if I opened up a package of cookies, I did not eat the entire package, which is what I was doing before that. So we all need to get detoxed off of those things. And then your taste buds change and all those beautiful phytonutrients start tasting delicious. And that's what your body needs, because every cell in your body has a shelf life. And so you're constantly replacing things. And if you're replacing them with junk, what do you think you're going to get in return? You can't
Yes.
be healthy if you're replacing all your cells with crud. So if anybody wants to join me, you can go to my website, CherylMHealthMuse.com, or you can email me at CherylMHealthMuse@gmail.com, and I'll show you how to sign up. It is well worth the 4 weeks it takes you to come out the other end. You will be a whole different person with how you want to eat after that.
I want it.
You want it? Come join us.
Yes.
I'd love to have you in the group.
I love sugar.
Yes. And it's
It's
crazy.
my lover.
You know, it's crazy that they did a test and the same receptors in your brain that go off when you do drugs like heroin or cocaine, that's what happens when you hit sugar. And also I've been watching documentaries. There's this one called Fat Nation, and that one's pretty interesting, how the government actually took all the healthy fats. That's why we went through that low fat craze. And that's why we have so much diabetes. I found out in 1980 is when this all came crashing down, about that time, because about 20 years ago or 40 years ago, it like all of a sudden we just started getting fat, and that's what happened is, and real quick, is the guy who was the National Heart Association guy had no facts, and he was like, here's his food pyramid, and he paid some people off it. He basically got it in there, and we've been following the wrong dietary facts for quite a while, and then it just kind of nobody and then it just kind of all of a sudden one day, I think in 2011, it changed. Our food pyramid just changed, and there was no announcement about it either. So this lady totally knows her stuff, and I became a vegetarian last year, and actually almost a year now I've been a vegetarian, and it's amazing how much I don't feel bloated. I feel awesome. I eat avocados. My skin feels, the elasticity feels good, and I still eat sugar, but I don't eat it like I was. You know what I mean? I eat more healthy, good for you food.
Well, the Mexican diet, or in Mexico, we eat a lot of vegetables. Everything is fresh. I miss that from Mexico because where I come from the sea is about 10 minutes from where I grow up. So you can eat the fish is fresh, you don't find frozen fish there at all, anywhere. The stores, they don't sell frozen food and where I come from. But now it start to getting in there, but you don't find frozen food in Mexico, well, in where I come from. So I miss that. I used to go to the market and everything is fresh. The cilantro, onions,
So much
everything was
better for
picked.
you.
Everything was picked from the day before, maybe, and they just put water. The little
Sprinklers.
yeah, sprinkles that they have in the stores now. There was a lady with her big canasta and her two, braids over here, and she used to spread the water in the top of the vegetables. That was how I grew up.
Well, if you sign up with Cheryl, you'll probably go back to eating that way, because this lady will blow your mind on all the chemicals that you're taking in your body. And you know what's crazy is women. Another fun fact for women: if you're moody out there, and Cheryl will say this, you made me think about this too, but not only that, I have a pituitary tumor. I have already, that's supposed to regulate your hormones, and so already I have off balance, but all these foods that we eat actually mess that up even more. So when you feel really crazy, don't take it so hard, because you know what, it may be the food that you're eating. And I really didn't believe that until I haven't eaten the stuff that I was eating for so long, and I feel a lot more clearer. I don't feel the things that I used to. And so I'm telling you, sign up with this lady. She'll have you eat from the rainbow.
Sugar mucks around with your dopamine, your serotonin, your GABA. Those are all your feel-good hormones. And if you're eating sugar, it's screwing around with all of them. So you don't stand a chance, and your moods are high and low and all over the place. It mucks with your memory. It creates dementia. I don't know about you guys, but I'm older than you, and I want to grow old and keep my brain. And our children, 54% of our children have a chronic illness, and it's directly connected to the amount of sugar. And it's not the sugar like you're adding 1 teaspoon into your coffee. That's not what I'm talking about. It's all the hidden sugar in the processed and the fast food. So you get a healthy dose of fake food in those, which are all those ingredients you can't pronounce and you don't know what they are. And then you're getting massive amounts of sugar in those foods, and your body doesn't have anything to utilize to be healthy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I need to come back to my food.
Yes, you definitely will. I'm telling you, you should sign up with her and she'll teach you some things. And, you know, that's one thing about Mexican heritage is that in your DNA, I know that they say diabetes is more prevalent in the Hispanic race and than in other races. So that's why it's really important to educate. And it's not so much about taking, it's about if you fry stuff, don't fry it in, you know, just the real, like fry it and you can fry it in avocado oil versus
you want to fry in omega-3 oils, not in the omega-6s.
Yeah, there you go. Again, Cheryl is the lady for this, and I'm still in the mentor stage of
and fat is not bad. Do you know why we went through that low fat stage? Because the sugar industry paid universities to say that sugar was good and fat was bad, because they didn't want the spotlight on themselves. And so wow, we got all screwed up from that. And when it came out that that was all a huge deception, getting people to give it up now. But let me tell you something, if you detox off the sugar, you don't care about it anymore. I can go out to dinner with people who eat great big nasty sugary desserts, and I could care less because it no longer has a hold on me. It was never about willpower, which is what I thought was the reason I couldn't lose weight. It was because I was addicted. So you break the addiction and you're home free to eat healthy food. And it's unbelievably freeing.
I love it.
You're selling me now. So I'm going.
Tell your friends.
You won't care that you don't have the sugar. And everybody keeps saying to me, do I have to give up chocolate? I just posted a cartoon where they wanted chocolate spinach and chocolate this and chocolate that. You don't give up chocolate. You eat chocolate that's lower in sugar. You eat chocolate that's 70% or higher. It has antioxidants in it, so it's actually quite good for you.
Well, actually, in Mexico, chocolate coming from cacao from Mexico. So the chocolate that I eat in Mexico is not the same chocolate when, you know, that they sell in the stores. It's not the same in Mexico. In Mexico, the flavor is different. It's completely different when you drink it, the one that they sell here. So I start eating it here because it's not the what we have there. So, you know, but yeah, chocolate is different, complete different in Mexico.
And real chocolate is not bad for you.
No, it's not. They give you power. All the Aztecs drink that with pepper, but the hot spice.
Cayenne pepper?
So the cayenne, no, it's not cayenne pepper. That cayenne pepper is from here. But in Mexico City, they what happened is I'm from Veracruz, so it's Veracruz, Tabasco, and Mexico City. So these three ethnicities. So there was the Toltecs, the Aztecs, and the Olmecs. They exchange. Mexico City have corn. The Olmecs have the cacao, and the Toltecas have a vanilla, which is where I'm from. So the vanilla is the original place where vanilla come from is Veracruz. So they turn this. So cacao and vanilla, they come in a ship and they ended up in Europe, and it's how they make the chocolate that you know now that they sell Godiva and all that is not this is just but that come from Mexico.
And now we all learned something that we probably half of us did not even know, that chocolate started in that route and it went all around in a circle.
Right. And came back to us.
I'm sorry. I give a speech in school for my public speaking class. So I'm an achiever. So I dressed up with my dress from Veracruz with my flowers, and I speak about vanilla because vanilla is from Veracruz, Mexico. So
That's fun.
this, yeah. So it's the guys that, did you see these guys that they coming down from the big pole? And they come down and they go around in the air with the flute. So
I think I have seen them before.
So that is from Veracruz. Actually, it's Papantla, Veracruz, the word that come from vanilla.
Fun. There's so much fun stuff. Thank you both for being here today, and really thank you, beautiful souls, for joining me on my very first empowerment series. I'm proud. I had a few hiccups. Maybe the time didn't work for me in my emails or whatever I have, but I've learned that I'm going to give myself a pat on the back, and that's why I do this, because I want to let you guys know that the process can be messy sometimes, but it doesn't matter. It's about
doesn't have to be
there.
Perfect.
And you know what? Also, my angels love to just have, they drop thoughts into my mind. That's how I really connect with them. And a thought came in my mind, and this is very true, that women that behave, what is that? If you don't behave wildly, you know, those are the women that are remembered. So you can't be quiet and meek to be remembered. So, you know, I come out here and I am unapologetically me, because I am love and light, and I come out here to support all my fellow beautiful sisters, and know that if you have a dream, you can achieve it. And I hope by learning all of these powerful women that have had the presentations by our guest speakers, I hope that you can achieve whatever it is that you want to do, and don't let anyone hold you back. And if plan A doesn't work, there's 25 other letters in the alphabet. So
let's support each other. You know,
yes.
Women either support each other or get in each other's ways. Let's just support each other.
Exactly. And we have Patty, the word for this conference. We have two. Genesis put one, and Shiro. We all know who your Shiro is in your women history. Know your history, okay? Because you can't do any better. You can't reinvent the wheel if you don't know how the wheel was invented in the beginning. The second word is sorority, and that comes from Miss Patty Holmes, and sorority is what we need to practice. And you know what? Not everybody is meant to be in everybody's tribe, but treat everybody with kindness and do for others that you would want done for you. And if you don't see immediate results in a person that you personally invested in, don't give up on the whole female race. Don't give up on the whole world, because you know what? That person just hasn't got the mindset to open to receive, because they're too scared to understand and receive. So just keep moving forward. And just like my angels tell me, those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind. A awesome quote by Dr. Seuss that I live by, that even when I feel disappointment and I feel small and I don't feel that I matter, I look back on the stuff that I do, and I remember women like Cheryl and Patty and Genesis and Nicole and Rochelle, especially. I look back at all these wonderful conversations that I've had with some just amazing women. And if I didn't overcome my fear of I wasn't good enough, or I didn't know enough, or whatever I came up with, I wouldn't have got to experience this. So let's all just empower each other and know there's enough out there for all of us, but it works better in a team, because when you're a team, you can multiply it. But by yourself, you're just going to end up stressing out and really, you know, it's not fun to have all the credit by yourself. Like at the top, what are you going to do when you get to the top? It's pretty lonely if you stepped on everyone at the bottom. So I always remember that. But what are your closing thoughts before we leave, Cheryl?
We need to support each other, and community is critical. And by the time you get to my age, you start to realize that a lot of it's just bull. So don't let the bull get in your way. I was in my 50s when I realized that the only person who was getting in my way of accomplishing what I wanted to accomplish was me. So don't let yourself stop yourself. If you want to do something, if you want to make a difference, if you have a passion for something, just go out there and do it. Don't stop yourself, and don't let fear get in your way.
I love it. Thank you so much, Cheryl, for being here and, you know, ending my series, because you started my other series. So I thought it was only appropriate that you would end this series. And thank you so much. Her info will be at the end of on this YouTube video. And so get in touch with Cheryl, sign up for her program to detox off sugar and feel amazing. But thank you, beautiful souls, for joining us today.
Always a pleasure to see you. Thank you.
Love and light to everyone. Thank you.